as a salesperson, it's no longer good enough just to try and grab someone's attention. You have to understand how you're going to deliver value.
Let's say someone posts an open job, right? You're going into those conversations, and really what you're trying to understand is not even the job and like the type of person I'm looking for. We need to be asking, what's the problem you're looking to solve for your business?
People need to adapt. We talked about workflows, business processes, where the real value is in leveraging AI to make sure that you're being seen as a human.
What's the point of all this technology? It's to meet somebody, have a connection, and build a relationship. And I think people who get that, people who understand that, they're going to win.
Joel Lalgee and Marcus Sawyer welcome you to AI in Recruiting, the show where they break down how AI is transforming hiring, leadership, and the future of work. Expect real talk, smart tools, and bold conversations with the people shaping what's next. Let's get into it.
Welcome to AI in Recruiting. I'm your co-host, Joel Lalgee. I am joined once again with Marcus Sawyer. Marcus, welcome. I know you've been traveling the world. It's good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. How you doing?
I'm doing good. We are experiencing lots of snow and the Arctic blast up in Wisconsin. So that's fun. I had the snowblower out, and I think tomorrow it's to be like -7 degrees. So
What do you do in that weather?
You try and stay inside, number one, and then you try not to go crazy, because when you've got the kids at home and everybody's at home and you can't go outside, you just got to get creative. So what about you? What have you been up to?
Yeah, all good. Just traveling. So I spent some time in London at the executive forum for the staffing industry analysts. That was interesting. I then got back and I was at another conference that was in San Francisco. I was there speaking at an AI summit. So that was also insightful as well, and having some conversations with people locally here in the Bay. And then just meeting with customers and building and releasing new products and services. So it's been a busy one. And I can't believe that we are so close to the tail end of the year. So yeah, planning and have been planning for 2026 and helping our ecosystem to scale their businesses.
I know when we were talking last year, obviously I think the AI has been a topic of conversation, right, for a number of years now, but there was that sense of, hey, this is a year of the agentic AI kind of came onto the scene. So I'm curious from your perspective, not to get too much into predictions, but 2026, if you would make a prediction of like what the focus will be when it comes to AI, what are you thinking, and where's your mind at?
I think that 2026 is really going to be the opportunity to make the most of the agentic wave. And the way that companies will do that is really by organizing. So I think we've moved out of the standpoint of like experiments and tools, and then it goes into scale. In order to scale, you have to be organized. So we are spending a lot of time on full-blown AI transformations. So we're helping companies that want to really take the full advantage of this time to transform their sales, their marketing, and their workflow processing when it comes to recruiting. And those folks that are doing that know that they have problems. So they've identified them.
Yeah.
We're just helping them to accelerate those within their own environment. They accelerate those opportunities to kind of really take those problems and turn them into opportunities. So I think that, yeah, it's going to be the year of organization. There'll be a lot more models that come out. One thing that I am seeing is the technology is way ahead of what people are ready to adopt just yet. So I don't actually think we need another new model to do anything that is better than what we can do today. So it's about adopting what you already have or what you think is going to be the opportunity. But I've been talking about this for a while, but it's moving from tools to transformation.
Yeah.
So tools to transformation for your teams. It's less about the point solutions, less about the tools, but how do you transform for your teams?
I wish everybody could hear our offline conversations over the years, because I think there was a time where I was even just within, kind of what you're building. I was like, we need to, we got to have a point solution here. And I remember you just always would tell me, like, that's not what it's about. Like, it's about systems, understanding, actually how the business is operating, and building something bigger. And I'd always just push back, no, it's not point solutions. So it's great how you just kind of could see where things were going and where things are heading. And I think, another thing I noticed was a couple of years ago, you were also saying, we need to add that end-to-end system, right? People don't want to be clicking from this place to that place to this place to that place to this place, because then it just wastes so much time. And I think that's where we're at, and we're seeing companies adapting that way, which is super interesting. And I also remember at one point, I think during the podcast, I was like, well, what about, you know, GPT? It's this version's coming out. You're like, I'm not even paying attention to that. You can't. It's almost like you can't get hung up on the new evolution without actually applying it into the business. And I think, if you're just chasing those shiny objects, in some ways now you're kind of behind. It's like, okay, how are you implementing things? Do you know where the bottlenecks are in your business? And what are you doing about it? Which is, there's always going to be the new shiny tools coming out, but it's like, well, no, how are you actually making your business more efficient? So it's cool that, I'm just saying this as a way. It's cool to hear our conversations and just see, like, the way that you're thinking about things, and how, a lot of those things are just kind of coming true. So it's cool.
It's a lot of conversations, but also seeing what happened historically, and history paints a picture for the future.
Yeah.
A lot of the time. And I do remember when there was a dawn of the internet, and many people remember that as well, where there were all these different individual portals. Like, you would have like MSN portal, Yahoo portal, AOL portal.
Yeah.
And what portal was doing, it was like consolidating areas that were important to users, from everything from weather, like you go on online to check the weather out before your phone, to news, to finance, and then communication with messaging. And then what happened, there were opportunities to then access the data that were behind these portals, which was a search engine. And then what's happening now is, on top of the search engine, you've got intelligence, right? And then what's happening now is then you put the workflows on top of that. So really, in order for the intelligence to be valuable and powerful, it needs to be consolidated so you can access it. Because if it's spread out, it doesn't have the same impact. So if you've got like 3 different systems where you're doing sourcing, screening, scheduling, job posting, but yes, they can save you time, but you're not getting the throughput of the value of all of them being connected to then what you would do in this scenario is you close the feedback loop. So you know why that process works and why it doesn't work, to allow you to retrain. So I always think, in the end, within a business, what you want is, you want to be able to consolidate the power, and whether that's operating leverage, whether that's financial power, and then distribute it to your customers. And so whether you're giving them something like strategic insights, or you're giving them candidates, it's what LinkedIn does, right? It's what they have, this big network, this big database of these millions of people, and then they distribute it to people in local markets. So just focusing on like a very specific point solution will be cool, but how is it connected to the ecosystem that you're trying to serve?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I think that's going to be the focus of 2026 is for especially a lot of people who own small businesses, right? As well. I think that's going to be the focus, is like, how is everything working together? And there's this whole idea of, the shift from, purely focusing on just the effort and the time you're putting into things, right, to outcomes, and like, how can you be more efficient? So I'd be curious to like your thoughts on that, and like what you're seeing with some of your clients as well,
Yeah.
in terms of how they're, really scaling it and making themselves way more efficient and almost like bigger, and kind of scaling that way, not necessarily with effort, but actually just knowing, how to put systems together to get those outcomes.
Yeah, I think that the effort to outcomes and maybe time to outcomes is going to be an evolution that AI will enable. And the reason being, there's a market that is really distributed, which is $10.2 trillion. And that's the entire contingent work market. And this data is from SIA, Staff and Industry Analyst. And this makes up statement of work, independent contractors, direct temporary work,
Yeah.
temporary agency work, and then things that happen on platforms like whether it's Fiverr, Upwork, and those types of things.
Yeah.
Now, that's all work getting delivered. And so if you look at one end of the spectrum, let's say on the left-hand side of like the complexity of this type of work, and we say on one end is designing a logo.
Yeah.
You feel quite confident to pay for that as an end product. So if I want a logo, and then I'll talk about where that's gone. But if I want a logo, I probably don't want to pay somebody hourly for that, right? I just want you to design me my logo. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Usually
Yeah.
design, pay once, and then maybe you got a couple of like remock-ups, right?
Yeah. And then on the other end of that spectrum, you've got, I want you to build me a data center, and it has to be able to host X amount of cloud coverage and cloud storage. And it needs to be in a location in the US that has efficient power processing. And that's a huge project. So from logo to design me a data center. With the logo piece, what's happening is that you could go onto a platform and get that done. You could go onto a freelance platform and ask someone to do that.
Yeah.
What's also happening is AI is eating that logo, because now you could just go onto an AI platform and get that out immediately.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in order to design that factory all the other way at the end of the spectrum, there's a lot in between that makes up that $10.2 trillion of work that is outcome based. And so I think that you'll see that AI will start to eat away at some of the smaller areas of outcome based work, which will then allow the designer of that work, so let's say the agency that might be holding the SOW, you've got that contract to say, look, I can deliver you a logo for this. We've done this recently with websites. We can guarantee we're going to give you a website at a particular price.
Yeah.
Before it would be like, build my website, charge me all the hours. I'm not going to know how long it could as an estimate.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I can guarantee you're going to get a website at this price. So you're just going to go further and further in. And we're seeing that with software. We're now starting to construct different types of arrangements where it's like, you want this project done, we can guarantee that at this price. So you get predictable. If the outcomes can be predictable, it becomes less risky for you as a seller and also for the buyer, because you know what it can deliver. Therefore, you can charge for that outcome.
Let's say from like a staffing agency owner or recruitment agency owner, like how does that impact their business? Because obviously, I just think of like a contingency recruiter that say, "Hey, I'm going to find a candidate for this role." It's always like, okay, are they going to deliver? Are they not going to deliver? Sometimes they send you candidates, sometimes they don't. Like, how do you think that's going to impact like those types of businesses?
Yeah, I think it's going to impact staffing and recruiting in many different ways. And some will happen to you.
Yeah.
If you're not proactive. And some you can get out and be proactive and drive that conversation. And I'll give an example. So if you're in staffing and recruiting, what you may want to do is you may want to move up market to increase your margins. That means that you want more potentially outcome-based work, SOW, where you would take on more risk. If you're going in and placing somebody, let's say you're placing a designer that is there to design a website. That's one thing. You might have to place a team of designers. In order for that to take place, there's a process in that design process, whatever they're designing, let's say the website. Part of that process is maybe discovery, okay? Then you've got to build after you've discovered, so you're starting to design. Each of those, if you're placing people, are going to be on hourly rates, so time and materials. If you're an agency, a small agency that is a marketing agency, so let's not say a staffing and recruiting company, slightly different, you would be able to deliver that for a fixed cost. Say, I can deliver this project or program for you within this period of time at this price. I think there's a bigger opportunity for staffing and recruiting firms, not just to provide this one-off person, but understand the project that's to be delivered.
Yeah.
Create the solution. And that might look, it could be 5 people, or it could be 2 people, an AI solution as well to do some of maybe the research development, the product requirements, and charge an outcome based. So let's talk margins, right? Let's say a designer cost you $100K a year, for instance. You got a team of 5, $500K. That's what it. So the client's looking is like, look, I want to deliver this project. It's going to cost me 500 grand. But really, because you're going to have them on staff for a year, or you might, that's what you're trying to place, a contract for a year or maybe 6 months, 250. And then the staffing agency might make a margin at the end after burden, after everything else. So they might make 30, 40% margin generally. And then after everything else, end up with 10%. So you might make 25 grand, 50 grand off of it. But what if you could go in and say, I can deliver the project for 150? And you're like, well, how do you do that? You assemble the team, you make sure that they're AI powered, and you do it in a short space of time. Client's happy, you're happy, people actually get paid quicker. So I think staffing and recruiting, so and also if you don't do that, what's happening? So you're trying to staff someone, then an AI native company is saying, why are you hiring these people when I can deliver an end-to-end design solution? So you're starting to meet the software players in the middle and the AI default players in the middle. And if you don't do it, someone's being asked in their organization and procurement, is there a better way to do this?
Yeah.
So as a staffing provider or the resource provider, what you want to do is go into a situation where you're providing all of the options as a menu a la carte, or you have an idea of what they might do, the best option is for the client. Because if you're not doing it, your competitors are going to be providing that.
So when I think about that, I think if you are looking at, placing somebody, instead of just saying, hey, okay, you got, let's say someone posts an open job, right? You're going into those conversations, and really what you're trying to understand is not even the job and like the type of person I'm looking for. We need to be asking, what's the problem you're looking to solve for your business? And then be able to say, okay, well, maybe it isn't a person that you need. Maybe the solution is, there's a human in the loop, but it's an AI solution in there as well. So it's a lot more of a, what's the business problem and can I provide solutions to it that may include people, versus like, what are you looking for in a candidate? So it sounds like those conversations will shift to like understand actually what the problem is business wise, and people who grasp a hold of that, companies that grasp a hold of it and take on potentially some of that work on their own payroll, they're gonna be able to kind of solve those solutions quicker and win the business.
Yeah, and you have to be clear about the person you're speaking to, right? So if you're speaking to a recruiter about that, or like somebody in TA, they're there to task to hire people at this point.
Yeah.
If you're speaking to the hiring manager, in a lot of scenarios, they'll want to basically say, look, I just need a person, because that's what they're used to doing.
Yeah.
If you're speaking to the department head and they've got to deliver a project in a certain kind of point of time, they might be more open to different modes of work delivery. So let's say we've got statement of work, SOW, independent contractors, direct temporary work. So that's you direct source and put them on your own EOR, temporary agency work, and then platform or an AI agent or full-time. So the way you can get work delivered happens in many different ways depending on the scenario. So if you can go with a menu of services and say, hey, look, depending on what you want to get done and what space of time and what the expertise require and whether or not this is akin to the intellectual property that you need to garner as a business, or it's just something that you need to get delivered, here are the menu of services that we can offer you on how to get the work delivered. Or here's what I would recommend, is what companies do in your scenario. And then you're really guiding the client and not just trying to sell them a body. That's a more difficult discussion to have, but that's where the margins also lie, and you become a trusted partner that can fix problems versus a partner that is just delivering people. And people, I think a lot of the time, are going to be the right solution, but how you contract with them and how you work with them is going to be just as important.
Yeah. So that's how, I mean, because to me, that's like a whole, it's like we were talking about, like it's a transformation, right? So like where I'm a recruitment owner, I'm looking to grow the business. Like how do you start to have those conversations with like current clients? How do you start to even market yourself to be able to deliver those solutions?
Yeah, I think it's by asking better questions, right? So if you go into a client scenario, instead of like, who are you trying to hire? What role are you trying to hire for? Trying to understand what is the ultimate project that these people are part of and what are they there to deliver. The only way you can understand it is you understand the business strategic initiatives. So let's go back to that other area of opening a data center. As part of opening a data center, you'll need to have a full talent mix. Let's say you're going to have some engineers that are going to be civil engineers, maybe physical engineers, right? Designing the buildings, and structural engineers. You have software engineers, potentially, hardware engineers. All of those folks will have different types of like modes of employment for you to deliver that project. So really you get into the question of being a program and a project manager. Hey, what's the program that you're trying to deliver? And once you understand that program, you can figure out how to staff it accordingly instead of the transaction. And those that understand that will have better discussions, but you have to understand how the business works. So asking better questions, doing more research on the programs that the business is trying to deliver, and understand where the people that you're staffing for roll up into that project. So they roll up into something.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time you don't really know what that is. Like, is this part of the new food logistics delivery business that you're setting up? Yes, it is. Okay, great. Is it part of the new program that you're launching to do market research to deliver an MVP in this area? Yeah, it's okay, great. It's the same as historically in Hollywood. If you're creating a film, you construct a team that all comes together, producers, actors, actresses, production TV, to deliver this project. And then they disband and they go and do it again.
So yeah, and I think, I mean, we've talked about this before too. I mean, it seems like even that traditional employment model, which I know like a lot of people have been saying it's going to get disrupted. I mean, it sounds like that's inevitably what's going to happen, right? There's going to be maybe a core group of people in a business, and then it's what projects are we trying to solve? How do we bring people and technology into the mix, rather than like, hey, where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years? Type conversations, right? Or just trying to fill a position at a company that's going to be forever. It's just it sounds like it, but to me too, it's like a transition that we as recruiters and people who are dealing in this space need to adjust to, but also clients and just the way that we do business is going to completely shift.
And I wouldn't say completely shift. The majority of hiring is still full time. What I am saying is there's a $10.2 trillion opportunity, which isn't all of work. This is a proportion of it.
Yeah.
And the way that gets done will be a combination out of this whole pie, staffing and recruiting. And let's take temp, for instance, out of this market is like looking at this graph here that I've got here. It's not, it will give me an overview, but it's like 5 to 10% of this 10.2 trillion.
Yeah.
Which is agency contract work. The majority of contingent work gets done by independent contractors or SOWs who understand the project.
Yeah.
There's a huge opportunity as a staffing and recruiting leader to get into that market, because the market of staffing and recruiting is about 600 billion in the US, I think, plus, which is a big market, but 10.2 trillion.
It's huge.
Right? So that's what I am saying. So I just think that I don't think it's going to transform exactly like all of work, all in this way. But if you're doing a project and you've got a program you need to deliver, you may not want to have a contractor anymore. You might want the outcome.
Got it.
Yeah. What are you hearing from your ecosystem and the people in your network at the moment in terms of, well, whether it's generally AI, but also I know that you're working on a lot of go-to-market positions and sales at the moment. So how are things shaping up in that world right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think, one of the things that I'm doing in this contract is I'm able to talk to people who are also, looking for work and getting a sense of what the market is. And a lot of the roles I'm doing right now are, like higher level sales positions. So kind of a lot of things we've talked about in the past where it's like the sales is shifting, right? Sales in terms of like how you reach people, massive shift. So, I think about how you reach people, how you get their attention, how you work with them. And, again, not just solving like a problem with a point solution, but really just understanding the businesses that you're working with, being able to sell complex solutions. Also seeing a lot of shifts with just like how, that traditional kind of like SDR model, right? Where you just cold calling people and it's just like activity, activity, activity. I think because all of these channels are just getting so saturated, and it's happened quickly because AI has just saturated a lot of things. A lot of these roles, and it's even with recruiting, like how do you get a hold of candidates when everybody has the same AI button to press on LinkedIn to send a message? Like, how do you make things different? So I'm hearing a lot of that, and then I think a lot of people are paying attention to just like regulations as a whole with AI, because it seems like there's a lot more plans for like states to come in with regulations, and then managing like the federal level, like how are they gonna mitigate some of these regulations as well? And then if you're recruiting in those states or if you're building tools in those states, a lot of people are just looking at like what are those regulations gonna look like as well. So I know a lot of people are paying attention to that.
So
yeah,
if we double click on the first point, just around the sales piece, I think that's really interesting and insightful that you're working with a lot of sales folks that are solution sellers.
Yeah.
Right. So you're hiring for solution sellers.
Yeah.
And why that's insightful is as a salesperson, it's no longer good enough just to try and grab someone's attention.
Yeah.
You have to understand how you're going to deliver value.
Yeah.
And it goes back to what we were talking about, kind of working more upstream with SOW work and understand what the company's trying to solve. So you can only deliver the solution if you understand the problem.
Exactly.
And
which you could use AI to help predict and understand what those are. And that's kind of like the baseline now. Like I even with prospecting, it's like the expectation is you don't come into a meeting without knowing anything. And if you do that, and I see it's in recruiting as well. Like you don't want to go into a meeting with someone and go, all right, so tell me what you're looking for. There's an expectation that you should already have an idea, and then you're asking clarifications. So I think you can use AI to predict some of what those problems and pain points could be.
So that's where I was going to go with it, because I think it's no longer good enough for you to schedule or set a meeting without understanding who you're meeting with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so therefore your first interaction as a human, and this is how you overcome, is the AI going to take our job or what have you, is you're delivering deep value.
Yeah.
And so in order to do that, you need to be able to have kind of researched in real time. We created recently a platform that allows people to do research instantly on any market related to the number of people that are in that market from a talent standpoint, companies, and also what the hiring trends are and what that market looks like and the companies and the competitors. And so we give our customers access to that where they can see a global view, double down on a city, understanding what's going on in that city, and they can go in really informed in that conversation. And I think that's just the expectation. So you have to, so being able to articulate the status of a market and also where you think you can take that company to help them progress along their journey, because they're along a journey right now, whether that's an individual you're speaking to or the company itself, is going to be a key part of the discussion that you have when you're engaging in prospecting.
Yeah, 100%. And that starts with, in my mind, that starts with a message. If you're sending a message, maybe it is a call that you're initiating, but that standard is going up. And I'm also seeing it with candidates as well. I'm very, like, to me, okay, so if I'm in a call with somebody and I ask that simple question of like, hey, what do you know about the company? Like, I used to have some grace and go, okay, yeah, okay, you didn't have time to check out the website. But now that I just know that we all have access to, at the very least, a Google search that's got Gemini built in, and you can just ask it a question like, what do I need to know about X company in an interview for this role? It's almost inexcusable. And I just think that those baseline things are becoming more important. And then also, just again, as a candidate, or if you're a salesperson, to your point, it's, you should have an idea of what the problems and the opportunities are. And then you're bridging the gap as a human to connect and bring that value and help them get to that place that they're looking to go to. And I think that's what we're seeing. And then, from sourcing perspective as well, I'm out there sourcing a lot of people. I've just found that, the templates and, kind of the lazy way of doing things it's just not cutting it. And I think we've talked about this before. I think being really intentional where you use AI and what points you use it, like using it for data and congregating data and being able to tell stories, that's great. Using it to connect with someone and that be the first point of contact, don't always think that is the greatest way to do it. And because it's so accessible, right? So just being really strategic with, at what point am I going to use AI? At what point am I not? And I think you can still scale that activity, but it's just looking like, where can I be intentional as the human and show up as a human? Because that also seems to be something that it's getting more and more important. Like, people they want to connect with people. So we talked about this as well, meeting up with people, and what's the point of all this technology? It's to meet somebody, have a connection, and build a relationship. And I think people who get that, people who understand that, they're going to win, particularly when it comes to sales and kind of, building those relationships.
Well, yeah, I agree that the laziness that can creep in with AI will basically transform all of the benefits that you get from using AI to negative, right? So so people want other people to be thoughtful.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like, there's a difference between writing somebody a generic. Remember, I'll give an example. On your LinkedIn, and LinkedIn, remember when they added that first button, it's like you had a work anniversary and then somebody say congratulations. Yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone would just press that. Congratulations, congratulations. And then you're expected to put thumbs up. Like, how silly is that, right?
Yeah.
So if you really congratulate someone, you'd write them a note. You're going to take that time. If you really want to work with a company, you're going to write them some kind of thoughtful note.
Yeah.
And I think that there are ways to scale that, absolutely. But you want people to know that you're thoughtful. Yeah. And one of the messages from the SIA, or the three kind of components for you asking about what is it for 2026, is to this new paradigm. Maybe we'll close out from this. People need to adapt We talked about workflows, business processes, where the real value is in leveraging AI to make sure that you're being seen as a human.
Yeah.
You've got to align. So your internal structure, align to the market. People know what they're doing. It's like a team scenario. Once you've adapted, you align, you get your formation. Is how we're going to operate. And then once you've got that, you've got to accelerate. So adapt, align, and accelerate. And that was the main message from the SIA. That was their slogan. And I think figure out where you need to adapt.
Yeah.
Make sure that you have aligned, you're organized, and then go as fast as you can.
Love that. It's huge.
All right.
Don't slow. And but I do think that that adaptation, being able to adapt as well, it's almost like, and we talked about this before, right? It's like your mindset has to be there as well. And I think if you
say adaptation?
Yeah, if you
is that what you said? Adaptation or adoption or adapting?
I think it's both. I think it's both. I think it's being able to adopt and adapt and be able to just change and have that in your mind. And I think we've talked about it before, where it's like, I think if you're not in that place or you're not at that in that mindset right now, it's almost too late going into 2026.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, the main message is adapt, align, accelerate. And in between there, once you adapt, and I think this is a big A, you got to figure out with your team how to get them to adopt. Because if people adopt, you're going to move at the speed that you need. Joel, pleasure as always.
As always. Good to see you. We'll be back, next week too with another episode. Good to see you, Marcus, as always.
You too. We'll catch up soon.
Hi, man.
If you got value from today's episode, share it with someone in your network, your team, your boss, or that recruiter still stuck in 2015. Be sure to follow the show so you never miss what's next in hiring and AI. Until next time.